Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today on BFSI's webinar on Tech Essentials for Agile, Effective, and Competitive Banking. I'm Shomik Ghosh. I'm Assistant Editor at CISO, and I'm honored to be moderating this discussion today. Well, as you well know, Indian BFSI firms have embarked on the transformation journey from being a transaction-led entity to an experience-driven one. Banking and fintech firms today must leverage cutting-edge technologies and analytics to make data-driven decisions. IT leaders not only have to spearhead the tech transformation, but also optimize processes in an agile, scalable, and cost-effective way. Today's webinar aims to give you a holistic view of tech transformation in the BFSI space, from the points of views of business heads, a BFSI expert, a CFO, a CIO, and a CISO. We promised you a great lining, and here's what we've got for you. We'll also learn how Oracle's Cloud ERP brings to the table to help financial institutions meet their business and employee objectives. So do stay tuned with us. With that said, let me quickly introduce the panelists that we have for you today. We've got Abhay Johuri. He's the head of digital business at ICICI Bank. Hi, Abhay. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Pleasure.
Hi. We've got KV Deepu, Senior President, Head Operations and Customer Service at Bajaj Alliance. Deepu, always a pleasure hosting you.
Thank you.
We've got Kiran Belsikar. He's the Chief Information Security Officer at Aegon Life Insurance Company Limited. Kiran, great hosting you.
Thanks, Romit, for having me.
Prashant P. Thakur, the Chief Financial Officer and Director at Suvidha InfoServe Limited. Prashant, thanks so much for joining us today. We've got Abhijit Bhattacharjee. He's the Chief Information Officer at Utkarsh Small Finance Bank. Abhijit, great to have you with us.
Thank you very much. Honored to be here.
We've got the BFSI expert in our midst. That's Rohan Lakyar. He's partner at Grant Thornton Bharat. Rohan, we're looking forward to your inputs.
Thank you so much.
And of course, we've got Rajesh Goel, who's the Director of Solutions Engineering for BFSI at Oracle India. Rajesh, great to have you in our midst.
Hi, everybody.
All right. So, folks, let's start with, a 30,000-foot view at what's playing out in the Indian banking space. And for that, let me quickly rope in Rohan. Rohan, to start with, could you paint us a picture of the most important factors that are influencing technology adoption in the BFSI industry today?
Yeah, thanks. So, Somik, we live in interesting times, right? I think confluence of multiple events coming together have influenced the way technology has been getting adopted in the BFSI sector.
Mm-hmm.
I'll cover three themes largely. From a ecosystem development perspective, one of the things that has happened is the government's focus on digitalization of Indian economy. So from a BFSI standpoint, development of digital public infrastructure has nudged this sector to adopt tech in a big way. Mm-hmm. Now, digital identity of Indian residents, there is no other country in the world which has such a large database of citizens' identity that can be almost instantaneously identified and in a largely non-repudiable way, since it is biometrically authenticated. It drives immense cost efficiencies in the key aspect of regulated entities process, which is to undertake KYC.
Mm-hmm.
Second aspect on the digital public infrastructure is the payment layer, which is interoperable, fast, and cheap. And I think India is one of the leading countries in the world to have such a developed payment ecosystem. And payments is a building block for the BFSI segment, since it enables tech-based services to be built upon. And on the third aspect of digital public infrastructure, there is a data layer of consent-based sharing of financial data that the regulators have put in place, which is the account aggregator and the central KYC registry, which enables sharing of financial information and KYC information seamlessly through an API, which allows BFSI sector to leverage on this infrastructure for customer identification, risk assessment, etc. Further, on the supply side, the key driver, of course, is the cost efficiency that the sector derives out of technology, be it process optimization, process automation, risk management, risk transformation, use of AI, ML in customer service, even delivering financial services digitally. These are all huge cost efficiencies that accrues to the sector by adopting technology. Further on the supply side, I think the COVID sort of forced the sector to innovate in a way to deliver its financial services in a non-face-to-face manner and through the mobile phone, which certainly hasn't been tech adoption in the last 2-3 years that we have seen. And thirdly, last but not least, on the fintech side, fintechs have been revolutionizing the BFSI sector, and I think the B2C fintech players who partner with the regulated entities and manage customer interface sort of have forced or nudged the BFSI incumbents to adopt technology so that the customer journey itself remains seamless throughout the customer life cycle. And there are B2B fintechs now coming in who are working with the incumbents to develop solutions which help them sort of scale up in their technology posture in a big way. And thirdly, I think on the demand side, right? I mean, look at the Indian customer segment. It's the youngest population that we have, fairly young population, which are early adopters. And with the smartphone and cheap data packs, the delivery of financial services becomes very, very seamless. And therefore, I think these key themes that have come together, which are sort of leading the technology adoption in the BFSI sector.
All right, thank you for that. Well, that was a pretty nice holistic picture that you painted for us there. So thank you for that, Rohan. Now, folks, we know that IT transformation is driven by business needs and operational needs. So let me quickly get a word from the folks who are heading the digital transformation or the digital business. Let me get inputs from you, Abhay, to start with. Could you tell us what businesses are demanding from IT leaders and vendor partners today, and how important is it for IT teams to deliver agile, scalable solutions to meet these business objectives?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I think the previous speaker mentioned that, we are living in interesting times, and actually it used to be a Chinese curse. Yeah? May you live in interesting times. So, yeah, I mean, the businesses are actually very, very demanding. And part of it stems from the fact that a lot of what they're asking for is now no longer science fiction. Yeah, it's science fact. It is possible to do it. Yeah. The second thing is obviously in adjacent industries, whether you look at e-commerce or you look at just the entertainment, portals, people are now used to, the kind of things which again one could only dream of. Yeah. So all of this is now fact. So therefore the nudge is, while, and BFSI point of view, you need to be very, very robust and resilient, and there has to be an integrity of data. But at the same time, I mean, I think there are about 8 separate sets, demands that are coming through. The first one is speed of delivery. Is you have to give us stuff faster. We are not okay with one release a quarter. I mean, ideally it should be one release a week. If not faster, yeah. And some of the stuff like your web portals and apps, stuff can actually change daily. Yeah. So speed of delivery is you want things fast. The second one is you need to be extremely differentiated. Yeah, you got to design for people, human-centric design. It's called. It has to be omni-channel. It has to be real-time intelligence. Through AI and data platforms. Yeah, so that's important. Be different. Be fast. Be different. The third one is people now also want to experiment. In the good old times, you had a strategy and you executed it. Now you are in a more volatile era where you want to design to enable measurement. You want to test, you want to fail fast, and you want to continuously innovate. So there is a little bit of requirement for sandboxes and a very flexible set, a lot of A/B testing where you can actually run experiments. Then there is the ecosystem is, in the good old times, bank was a place where you did banking. Now banks actually have to reach out to the places where people are. So whether it's e-commerce portals or education or health, there are these ecosystems that are developing and you got to reach out to them, so that's another demand. Then there is this question of this entire India stack, which, while it has enabled a lot of effectiveness, has resulted in a huge surge of volumes. So whether it's UPI or account aggregator or Aadhaar-based identifications, the kind of load that is coming onto the systems is a multiple of what it used to be. Yeah. So there is a certain requirement for decoupling. A lot of core requirements. So you got to handle this entire stability, resiliency at a different level. Yeah. Then finally, not everything can be new. So you got to maximize the value of some of the existing investments that you made. Squeeze, water out of the stones that are already there. And finally, you can actually look at very standard kind of templates that are followed worldwide. But India is different. Yeah. So a lot of localizations, whether it's vernacular or whether it's actually compatibility with India stack, or just the fact that there's a huge volume of low size tickets. Yeah. So all of these things together is, I think, what the businesses are asking for.
Right. Thank you for that, Abhay. I was just noting the the panelists' reaction when you're talking about you've got to go agile, but then you've got no other way. Of course, Abhijit and Kiran here have serious expressions because that's their purview. The responsibility falls on them. But Deepu was smiling in agreement with what you said. So Deepu, let's hear your comments on this. As the man heading operations at Bajaj Alliance, what's your take on this? How's your company driving agile, scalable innovation?
Yeah, I think Swamik, it's a very relevant topic when it comes to being agile and scalable in the Indian context. One thing we've seen, is the use of Indian languages. A lot of digital assets, tend to come in English, and I think the moment you make it multilingual, you can really amplify your reach, and scale it. So, for example, during COVID, our bot could speak in multiple languages, and similarly, we offered an app for farmers who avail of crop insurance exclusively in Indian languages, and we were able to scale it up dramatically. Now, coming to agile, I think to the point my co-panelist made earlier, I think what we normally do is gather all the requirements, and then we go back and tell them very clearly that we'll deliver them in phases, right? So we start with the minimum viable product, take it to market, and as you get comfortable with it, teams are learning how to use it, then we give the next lower features, right? So on and so forth. So that way you shorten your time to market, and then you also keep enriching it, and I've seen that helps. So for example, on a bot, initially we came out with features which could take care of our top 7 call categories. Then we increased it to 60. Then we took it up to 23. And during the peak of the pandemic, we had 80% of our customers pivot from call centers to our digital assets. So I think these two features have helped us significantly ramp up our scalability and agility quotient.
Understood. Thanks. Great points there, Deepu. Now, for the audience watching us, I would encourage you to please share your questions in the Q&A box. Keep in mind that, we are joined with a panel from different factions, the technology side, the business side, operations, cybersecurity. So make use of this, flood us with your questions. We'd be more than happy to address them for you. Let's quickly have a look at, how this is playing out from a CIO's point of view. And for that, Abhijit, let me start with you. Abhijit, what technology adoptions have you spearheaded to help businesses make data-driven decisions and optimize your business processes? And also part 2 is, what challenges have you encountered in the process? If you could share that with us, please.
Yeah, hi, thanks for inviting me on the session. But before that, I just want to respond to the smile what you mentioned. Abhay, as for the typical business perspective, obviously asked for the science fiction to happen tomorrow. But no, but that's a reality, and we need to understand. And I am little offense because you say what Abhay you look from the technology team, but actually if you look, Abhay is actually selling a technology product. So there is actually the thin lines between the technology and the business as now it is diminishing and diminishing day by day. Right. Unless you understand what sells in technology, you actually probably will not be able to make a good product out of it. Now, coming on data, is obviously data is a byproduct of digital, and data is what going to make the things in a very differentiated manner. I'll take few examples which is more pivotal to the industry what I operate on. Though I am in the banking, but the current organization is that they are more focused on the Bharat of India, not the India per se.
Right.
So for us, and when you are talking about that kind of large volumes of the people, and people are remote and looking for a small ticket size activities, so identifying the people from the data is very important. To give an example, if you are close to the industry, we will know around 2 year back, RBI came up with some guideline, not 2 year, I think 1.5 year back, of capturing multiple information. The getting the information is already a challenge. Correct? Getting additional information as a part of the microfinance loan and the loan book. And those information, if you look into very different way, doesn't look very much related. They ask for your family details. They started asking you who are the other co-lenders and so on and so forth.
Okay.
But those who understand the industry, they understand they are actually creating a gold mine, and you know the environment of the person you are giving the loan on, and that's actually is a gold mine of the information. So
Right.
now now in last 1.5 year, that information is now mature, and now what we are looking to cross sell that, but use that information to do a lot of cross sell, because the person who's taking maybe a 50,000 loans, he always have a 20,000, another 35, 25,000, 30,000 loan expectations are there, and you can identify from the data, okay, who are the guys whom you can target. Your targeting would be, instead of going, go in the market and buy data, the success rate will be less than 1%. You use in a data set which is more qualified, your success rate is 10 to 15%, which is huge from a business upscale perspective.
Right.
Another example I'd like to give on the service perspective, again from the digital India stack, VKYC is something which is now every bank is following. Now, VKYC is a typical problem. How many agent you need to put? You really don't know when people will come, ask for the VKYC, even if you schedule when the guys will going to come. What is your trend? Can you actually put your trend on a chart and see, okay, when is my peak time, when is not my peak time? So this is again when we are starting. We obviously started VKYC very small, and we have to scale up. Now, if you have to scale up, you cannot get 100 people, overnight. You need to know
Right.
when to scale up, how to scale up. So obviously, again, data of how people are using our incoming traffic, outgoing traffic, created help us to create a model on which we can try to see how we can optimize my cost in order to move it forward. In terms of challenges, you mentioned data quality is a challenge. And that challenge is not for specific to our bank or BFSI, that is universal. Data governance is something India is working nowadays, and now the new data bill is coming up. That governance and that will going to come more into foray. We are still at a nascent stage to see how we can get more better and qualified data, but I think things will become better for now on. New brains will start coming in, new technologies will start coming in order to get this done. Okay, I'll take a pause. Thank you.
Understood. Abhijit, I've got a quick follow-up question for you. This is from one of our audience members, Mr. Dhyaneshwar Rale, who's asking about the exact same point that you just mentioned. The recently passed Data Protection Bill, Data Protection Act now, how will it improve business conduct and impact day-to-day operations? As a CIO, how do you look at it?
No, so you are saying how it's going to improve. Okay, look, I don't know about the world parlance, but the India parlance, banking system traditionally are, very people think banks are stable, banks are secure. Okay, and once you say that your data in the bank is safe, you actually take it one step ahead. I think data protection bill is for the country as a whole, and I think as more and more digitization is coming to the foray and people going to the social platform, protection of the data will become more and more important. I think people adoption on the process, because I still know there are a lot of people in the system don't do much transaction, or don't do any transaction at all because they are concerned about the data. So it will going to bring awareness. It will going to bring obviously new technologies and new processes and stuff. And obviously the digital adoptions on a larger scale will going to happen once the data protection bill is in. If you ask purely from the technology perspective, this is a humongous job because you need to not only capture data, but you have to capture the entire traversal of the data from the where the data originate, where the data gets shared, and whom you share and how much you are sharing. So it is not a small job at all. And how we are going to implement it, that's going to be, I think, the talking point in next 1.5 years.
Great. Thanks for that, Abhijit. Abhay, I'd like to hear your comments as well, specifically around the challenges bit. And we know you have a hard stop at 3:30, so
no, I can continue. I can continue. That's not a problem.
Sure. Go ahead, please.
See, there's a very fine line here, right? Protection as a concept, absolutely, you got to stand by it, and it's important. Yeah. Part of it is this whole confidentiality piece, and the part of it, especially in a trusted industry like a BFSI, and a part of it is, I wouldn't say, so much privacy as you don't really want too many people to know about you. That's a positive part. The flip side to that is, if you indicate your preferences, it is easier, for providers to treat you at a segment of one. The more we know about you, the better we can position our offerings for you, the more sharper our recommendations can be. Yeah. So there is a part where your recommendations are sharp, and there's a part where we keep your data confidential. And the key here is first party data, right? The more first party, which is the client and yourself, are able to share data between yourselves, you are okay. Right. The trouble comes when you are looking at second parties and third parties who are sharing the same data, even if you've anonymized it, even if you've done stuff around it. That's where it starts getting a little weird. So that this is one flip side. The other one, and it's a very it's a question of degree, right? It's a Goldilocks moment, not too hot, not too cold. You've got to have porridge exactly at the right set. And the thing there is, if you are too personalized, you are borderline creepy. Yeah. You know too much about me. Yeah. Right. So therefore personalize it, but don't overdo it. So there is a fine act of balancing there. So this is as far as your front-ended activities of sales, marketing, and servicing go. And then there is this whole confidentiality piece is, I trust you guys with my data, keep it secure. Yeah. And that goes without saying. Yeah. That is a given. That's table stakes.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Abhay. I think you brought up the perfect segue for our next question, which is the topic of security, like you rightly pointed out. And for that, I would like to hear Kiran's point of view. Now, Kiran, as a cybersecurity head, as the person heading cybersecurity operations, we know that security is today at the forefront of all your tech adoptions. So how are you ensuring that at Aegon Life your security is able to keep pace and scale, keep up with the pace and the scale of IT transformation?
Yeah, thanks, Soumik, for that question. So just to ensure that the security keep up the pace with the rapid IT transformation, Aegon Life typically have adopted a multifaceted approach. And in fact, that's most of the financial institutions as well would have adopted. The first is more in terms of the robust security architecture. So we establish a strong security architecture that encompasses the network security or data security or the application security for that matter. So this architecture is designed to adapt to the changing technology landscapes. Right. Others on the continuous monitoring. So continuous monitoring and threat detection systems are implemented to promptly identify and respond to the security incidents. So this includes the intrusion detection systems, the SIEMs tools, and the cloud-native tools for the real-time monitoring. The other factor is on the regular audits and assessments. So periodically, security audits, vulnerability assessments, and penetration testings are being conducted to identify the weakness in the infrastructure. So that's from an inside-out view perspective. Adoption of the industry standards. So following established security standards and frameworks, example, the CIS benchmark or the ISO 27001 framework, ensure that the security practices are aligned with the industry best practices, and even the environment is adaptable to the changing technology landscape perspective. Security training and awareness, the training programs are provided to employees to educate them about the security best practices and the potential risk associated with the new technologies. Secure development practices, the security is integrated in the software development lifecycle from the start. It's just like I always take an example or an analogy of car airbags. So it's just like you need car airbags during the accident and not after the accident. So should be your security as well, so that you have a security airbags within your systems. Cloud security. So with the adoption of the cloud technologies, the organizations focus on cloud security strategies, including the proper configuration, encryption, and the access control. Monitoring of cloud resources is very important. And if you see all the breaches which are reported in the past are mostly related to the human errors, the configuration errors,
Exactly.
which are man-made perspective. If you look at now, the incident response planning is also very important. A well-defined incident response plans are need to be established to guide the organization's actions in case of a security breach. This ensures like a swift and a coordinated response to minimize the damage. And also very important aspects, while the attackers are collaborating, but there also needs to be a collaboration within the security community as well. So engaging with the broader security community, participating in the threat intelligence sharing and collaborating with other organizations can also help us in staying with the latest threats and mitigation strategies perspective. But the other aspect is on the security automation, because the threat vectors are changing. So if you look at the automation is need to be leveraged to handle the routine security task, reducing the potential for human errors, and using your critical resources for more critical task perspective. And finally, I would talk about the regulatory compliance for organizations in regulated industries. Adhering to the industry-specific regulations and compliance standards is a critical aspect for maintaining the security.
Understood. Great points brought up there, Kiran, and I strongly agree with you, especially with CERT-In's new requirements of reporting any breach within 6 hours, and also the maximum penalty that could go up to 250 crores for any firm that handles consumer data. But we know for a fact that any technology implementation, even security implementations, they cost, and the cost factor is of course in the hands of a CFO. So with that, let me quickly get Prashant into the conversation. So Prashant, if you could share your perspectives as a CFO, how do you drive cost optimization at Suvidha InfoServe?
Thanks, Somik. So while I hear all my seniors here from technology field, I could see there is so much of enthusiasm. Everything else is getting and after all those meetings which get over, the toughest question, and it's not about always how much can you spend, but we need so much resources, and so Kiran spoke about employee training and the number of data centers which we need to put in and all of that. So it's always a very difficult task. So first of all, what is very important for a CFOs is gone are those days where they used to just do some comparative analysis on Excel sheets and start trying to find out that okay, somebody is giving me a server at X cost, somebody is giving me X minus so percentage, so let's go with that. I think so. What we do is we run a simple thing called AIM, which is an acquisition, implementation, and money. So how much time is going to take for acquisition of that particular resource, and this is right across entire technology. When I need to hire, say, Ruby and Rails guys, then how much time it's going to be taking for me to hire a person. So acquisition is a very, very important aspect. Then the implementation, that what is the timeline? And I would tell you that, in my learning, I have seen that acquisitions are always great. Amount of money which is put in are also great. But at the time of implementation, the litmus test of entire organization and implement it's always the how best the UAT has been done, and how entire product which was envisaged at the drawing board is now getting implemented. Those are the things. Now coming across to the cost parameters, CFO needs to be also start looking into outside of the domain of being technology guy, and that's one of the advantage CFO always gets it, because CFO is not attached to the product or the type of I would say fancy ideas which has been brought by the business guys. They always would try to see it from a different angle, say that what is going to be a revenue which is going to be coming in, and how I can implement few of the things which is either free of cost or with the lower cost. So I'll tell you few of the things which we implement in our organization is artificial intelligence is getting used right, left, and center. So we so many apps which are available free of cost are now implemented. And I'll tell you one use case and one anecdote, that with the AI which we implemented, and we are a transaction company. So someone has tried. So it's not about the cyber security always. There are very intelligent people out there. Somebody is trying to pay his insurance premium, because the insurance premium service provider need is that someone can pay any amount of money as an insurance. That person has started paying 1111 rupee as a different transaction. So insurance premium number of transaction which has just gone in is like 2 transactions, because
Right.
he can reward and recognizes 40 transactions done in our system. Now AI, like as a normal tech guy or a business guy, but gone are those days. Now we have to also start introspecting into the data, that why the transactions are just getting done, and what exactly is the purpose behind them. And that's where you probably try to get the cost. And third, last important point probably I would see is that start looking at how you drive a variable cost. Corona, I think so. Every models will never work at a long run. There has to be a scenario where you can either increase your product and accordingly your cost should also increase in a tech platform. So we use cloud for all our core apps which are like facing customers. And that's the biggest thing which we always do, and the non-core tasks are always at the back end.
Right.
So they're running on the old server.
Got it. All right, Prashant. I think I think there's a little problem with the audio and maybe the internet connection. But let me quickly get Rajesh into the conversation. Now, Rajesh, we know for a fact that CIOs and CISOs, they're driving for continuous innovation, and that's also brought about by the fact that they'd rather contribute to innovation and growing their business rather than focus their efforts on merely keeping the lights on. If you could tell us, what are some of the ways in which IT leaders can drive continuous change and continuous innovation? And also, what is cloud, Oracle's cloud ERP bringing to the table to help your customers achieve these objectives?
Yeah, good question. And good evening to everybody. So many of the points that we have been discussing and the panelists have been talking about, right, to be nimble, agile, and to have faster return of investment, give the return faster to the end business user, right? And that's what when Oracle was having its traditional software, customers are using on-prem softwares, right? We found that customers are finding it very difficult to innovate. So the upgrade cycles were longer, maintaining the hardware, maintaining the servers. It was taking so much time for various customers. So the concept of innovation was always put on the back burner. It was making the system running and keeping it open for the transaction was a key initiative, and everybody was trying to focus on them. Of late, what Oracle did was, for last couple of years, we did a lot of research and we completely revamped the entire way of how the ERPs and the solutions have to be used by our customers, right? So we built a modern platform on the cloud. And the beauty of the solution is that we are seeing this more and more usage of these solutions in the BFSI sector. They are the largest one which are approaching us, trying to uptake the cloud technology as we speak, right? And the key benefits that we see for the various stakeholders. Number one is basically they want to have real-time view of the business. So as transactions are happening, without relying on any other processes, the system should be able to give real-time insights, and they want to take more and more data-driven decisions, right? That's something that we see and hear customers want to do from the system here. And with the advent of new changes and new changing technologies, right? AI, ML, and the capability of machine learning capabilities and so on, Oracle also has used those capabilities and built in features around that capability. Okay. Take, for example, if you're using a back office ERP system, and if the finance department is trying to create a AP invoice, the system can automatically do the AML calculations, tell which account to debit and so on. It speeds up the entire process of how the accounting is happening behind the scene. This is just one example, right? Same example can be used for generating a resume of an employee or a job description that has to be created. Everything is now getting implemented as part of features of the product. The organization has just to uptake the cloud and start using it without worrying on how to implement those, right? They are already available as an out-of-box feature of the product here. And then we also see many companies want to have the end user experience much more robust, right? They want features like chatbot, people able to use the chatbots to communicate and do the transactions, get the information faster wherever they are, right? They're not tied to a particular geography or location and do the transaction here. And when we talk about continuous innovation here, continuous innovation does not stop today, right? It's something that's always constant. And the cloud applications of Oracle, which we release, are designed in such a way that every quarter you get new capabilities on the product. As there is a demand from the government or there's a demand from the customers, new features are rolling out to you. Customers can uptake them, opt in, and start deploying them, right? At no extra cost. Basically, they are included in the commercials of the customer that they get. So those are something that we see customers adopt, and that's how Oracle is helping a customer keep up with the pace of change and the innovation that they want, basically.
Understood. Thanks for that. Thanks for those points are there. Now, I'm going to quickly take an audience question. There's one that's coming from Sagar Khairnar. And Rohan, I'd like to hear your points of view on this. Sagar is essentially asking us, what are the additional challenges in implementing digital transformation projects in BFSI? And he's specifically focusing on RBI guidelines on data security and compliance. So if you talk about, governance and compliance, could you, list out the top 3 changes that are, going to change or going to define the way Indian BFSI shapes up in 2024 and beyond?
Yeah, Soumik, thanks. So difficult to sort of summarize it in 3 points, but I'll take a shot. Basically, regulators have welcomed the large-scale adoption of technology in the BFSI sector, right? I mean, they understand the kind of benefits that the sector can derive out of this technology adoption. Right. But they have also been consciously flagging that large-scale technology adoption comes with risks. They are either existing risks which manifest in new ways, or they are new risks that get introduced in the system. So they have encouraged the sector to sort of assess the risk appropriately, comprehend the technology that they are trying to adopt, and then take a conscious call in terms of how they want to go about doing it. So accordingly, they have released instructions on IT outsourcing risk. There are detailed instructions already on cybersecurity posture. Right. They have also emphasized the need for the sector to focus and enhance their capability and talent bandwidth within the control functions, which are compliance, risk, and infosec functions within the organization. Right. And also, RBI recognizes that it's ultimately the people who have to adopt it, right? It's a cultural thing, and corporate the governance around it, the way you do things is how you get employee to sort of internalize the governance around technology. And to that end, they have also taken steps I mean, there are three things that you can do, right? One is to create awareness around the risk that is associated. Then you incentivize or disincentivize mechanisms which ensure that the employees are sort of directed in the right manner. And all of these things are driven top down. So the top leadership has to be extremely sensitive about the governance around it. So if you look at some of the RBI directions, they have mandated that the board and the CXOs of the bank have to have an annual training calendar set out on cybersecurity and tech aspects, for which they seek contribution from each of the banks. Back in 2019 or 2020, RBI also came up with a compensation structure for material risk takers. Now, what they are saying is that through compensation, you create an incentive and a disincentive to ensure that the top leadership is aligned in terms of what are the risks they are taking. They're assessing the long-term implications, and therefore the compensation structure was designed in such a manner that it had a element of deferral compensation. So because risks play out on a longer time horizon, so our regulator recognizes that the compensation also have to be skewed towards that time horizon, so that when the risk plays out, there is enough skin in the game for the material risk taker to be able to get punitive implication for the risk that was not assessed at the time when they adopted a certain technology. So, I mean, these are the key themes that have emerged from the regulator's standpoint. They have been discussion papers on corporate governance, which is still a discussion paper on a feedback basis, but it will come into play, I think, in 2023, 2024, where banks will have to adopt it. And that will take the governance around technology and corporate governance in general at a different level, because it will standardize that regulatory expectation across the sector. So these are a few things I think will come up as we go along this journey.
Right. All right. Well, the next question that's going to be coming up is again, from a tech perspective, and that is specifically around the complexities in integrating data across front and back office touch points, and also with synthesizing systems. So let me quickly get Abhay's point of view. Abhay, really quickly, if you could tell us what are the 2 or 3 complexities that you faced when it comes to integrating data, especially from front and back office touch points.
That's right. Yeah. So the complexity stems from 2 points. Yeah. One is the sheer velocity, with which data comes through, and the second is the variety,
Right.
with which the data expresses itself. And there are ways to handle all of this, technologically mature ways to handle this. Again, like I said, this was science fiction some 10 years back, but now it's a science fact. Yeah, you can actually do it. The point is, the velocity question is, because the data is coming in so fast and furious, you have to clean it, you have to metadata it, you have to glean insights from it, and you have to take actions from it, which
Right.
means that a lot of your systems which were operating in a batch mode earlier have to operate more real time. Yeah. Now, real time is not just a question of adding more computing or increasing bandwidth. You actually have to foundationally change the way your architecture of all the components. Yeah. So that's one way to handle complexity, is split it into the components and then actually architect it right. Yeah. The second point is the segregation between front and back is a very smart thing, because there are a lot more changes that happen on the front. Banking foundationally hasn't changed much, the last 500 years. So the core systems pretty much, shielded from the vagaries. So when you segregate the two, you got to also make sure that it is in sync, and that typically results in a third component, which is really used to be called data warehouses. In the 1990s tech. You can pretty much now do it as a data lake where you have structured and unstructured data.
Right.
So therefore, another way to get it in sync, one is to have real-time architecture. The second one is to just invest in what are called systems of intelligence, where you can actually store large volumes of data, where you can, attach value to the data, and where you can run algorithms which can actually cleanse down data. But the key there is, the system of intelligence is not systems of engagement, which is what your browser, app, and CRMs are. So therefore, any wisdom or insight that you would get, you then have to get it ready for consumption at the other end. So foundationally, yeah, you got to rewrite the way your organization is wired. Yeah, but the results are well worth it. There is ROI on it.
Makes sense. Thanks for that. Now, I'd like to hear Kiran's point of view on this as well. So, Kiran, we know that banks are operating. They're it's built upon a number of APIs, and API, of course, gives risk to security. It raises the risk because it's we have a constantly growing attack surface. So, how do you view the point, and how do you view this challenge? How do you address this, Kiran?
No, so. I think just to add also on top of what Abhay also mentioned about is in terms of the data on the same complexities perspective, the data management agility, I would say, so that it has become a mission critical priority for the organization in an increasingly diverse, distributed and complex environment to reduce the human errors across in terms of the overall cost, data, and analytics perspective, even leveraging the data which has been collected from both front end and back end of the infrastructure, which are strongest, but they can also be in a silo. So finding ways to streamline it into a cohesive unit is a whole new ball game. Also using an automation to enhance the customer experience perspective. So these were a couple of which I could look at from the complexities perspective. But when it comes to a security, I would say, while the traditional security is not going to work out in this API economy, I would say so, because here where everyone are consumers or the producers of some or the other services or product perspective. So I think having the right, when I was talking about in the earlier question as well, having the appropriate security assessments at all, and when you are developing your APIs, having those guardrails and the early scale with, again, the DPDP Act 2023, also the limited exchange of data minimization is also a very important aspect. So it is not that the data has been called, the APIs have been called, and you submit all data, which is not required. So there are many segments, and also now even the security standards have also evolved in terms of where we used to have OAPS top 10 for the web. Now we also have an OAPS top 10 for the API security as well. So I think those are a couple of solutions which are absolutely required in terms of before taking the APIs out, because most of these threats are also, we are seeing that the APIs breaches is what we are seeing around. So I think these are a couple of methods which we have adopted, and I think the standard industry is also looking after that.
All right. Thank you so much for that. I think that was Niranjan's question. So thanks for that question as well. Now, we've got, a couple of people who are asking us about ROI. Of course, we are Indian folk, and one of the most important things for us is kitna deti hai. So if I could hear your point of view, Deepu, how do you check ROI at the time of adopting new technologies? And what are your recommendations to companies to get maximum bang for the buck in your investments, especially in automation and other IT areas?
That's a very pragmatic question, Soumik. I think I'm glad somebody asked that. So when we look at ROI, typically we look at it in three buckets. Now, one is if you look at the tool itself, and most firms have this practice of doing a clear techno-commercial evaluation before rollout. So if you invest in CapEx, then you look at savings in OpEx over the transactions that get shifted from the manual world to the digital world. So that's one way by which you look at ROI. Okay. The second is you also look at intangibles. So for example, if you see an uptick in your net promoter scores, or if you look at a spike in your customer satisfaction ratings, right, then you assume that eventually if customers are happy, they come back to you, right? So that's the second way of looking at it. The first is the harder aspect, the second is the softer aspect. Then the third is the intangible, right? As a brand, if you are seen as forward-looking, innovative, it has its own multiplier effect. So these are three buckets, in which you can start to get a measure of ROI.
All right, thanks for that. Prashant, I'd like to hear your take on this as well. So as a CFO, of course, ROI would be one of the prime things that you'd be focusing on. What are your top three takeaways on, getting maximum ROI out of IT investments?
So, the way I look at it is that, the investment cannot be like, how much I'm going to be spending it immediately. I guess I would
Right.
like to probably design it by dividing it for a 5-year plan as to what would be the outcome of the investment, which, I'm going to be doing it in the IT sector. What would be the result I will gain in next 5 years as overall? On top of that, what would be the challenges? Probably, there will be employee turnover, the technology absolutely will get absolute. There will be new rules and regulation compliances which may be, implemented by the regulators. Keeping all those costs as a total cost, and understanding that what would be the business. So, the way my targets for the sales team is worked is like we attribute few of the cost of the technology department into the sales domain as well. Because the sales always keeps coming up with the requirement that there has to be a speed, there has to be, they want to leverage new technology. That's where we say that, okay, if you are asking for something internally, being an internal customer, you should also be ready to take up the cost for that. So I believe, the way to look at it is tech department is not only working, as a silos. I guess all other department itself also needs to be taken into, confidence before taking any such investment decision. You call it HR, you call it finance, you call it sales, and that's probably my, my 2 cents on this.
All right. Thank you for that. Well, that was the question that we had received from Kaushal and Sudarshan. So thank you, gentlemen, for your questions. I hope, that answered your queries. Now, let me quickly go to Rajesh. Now, Rajesh, there's a lot of talk going on around automation and, automating back office finance systems. If you could tell us a bit about, the back office finance automation technologies on the cloud, and if you could, just point out a few solutions that you see are being deployed, to help CIOs and businesses in the BFSI segment.
Yeah, so basically, as we are talking about all the automation, we are from Oracle, right? Being interacting with so many customers in this space. We see the topmost solution that has been currently uptaking by many organizations is the back office finance, right? The finance operations are trying to automate the entire financials, which includes the traditional GAL, APAR, and so on. So that is something that we see as a bread and butter business. People want to automate that, have a modern platform. They're able to report to RBI, or they're able to report to the statutory bodies much quicker, right? And putting lesser effort to get output from the system. And then we see companies trying to adopt and automate the employee reimbursement process, have policies around them, have controls set so that they don't have revenue leakages or any expense leakages on top of it. And then we also see customers adopt modern procure-to-pay solutions, which have the branch purchase, acquisitions getting created. How does the accrual accounting entries get created, and so on, right? So end-to-end process related to that. And on top of it, we see customers typically in banking industry look for solutions such as Accounting Hub, which picks the data from the core banking solutions, automatically create accounting entry of that, and pushes into the enterprise general ledger. And so they speed up the entire accounting itself from the end-to-end state architecture that we are seeing here. And we also see customers now looking to have robust control on ERPs itself via using the embedded risk management solution, like segregation of duty, who's accessing what portion of the application, and so on. That is a core back office application that has been used. But we also now we also see customers looking to enhance beyond the traditional finance also, right? They're looking to have automated enterprise performance management tools of Oracle. They are like a consolidation and close module where heterogeneous ERPs, heterogeneous organizations, and ERPs can come together and they can quickly consolidate the books of account. We also see the need for the finance department to have a very robust account reconciliation tool, because the delay of the closing process is because of a lot of factors that things are not reconciled properly. There are things that has been pending on reconciliation side. So there are automated tools that Oracle has, which customers are looking to adopt now. And then beyond that, they're also looking to have profitability and cost management to slice and dice the profitability. Look at how the revenue is segmented by different customer or different products and so on, right? So that's something that we have seen customer adopt. And we are also looking need for the customers to give the narrative reports, the financial statement to the end bodies, right, or end shareholders. So there are tools available like narrative reporting, which comes with EPM to quickly automate those processes. And the final output of the reports are exactly coming very quickly from the tool that customers are adopting. And lastly, we have the enterprise ERP analytics, which takes the data from Oracle Fusion application, the cloud application that we have. We see customers pushing data from non-Oracle system into this layer, and then business users are able to take all the meaningful insights, much more robust, much more faster, and take data-driven decisions, right? So these are something the back office automation for the Office of Finance. That's what I see getting more and more used as we speak now.
Understood. All right. Thanks for that, Rajesh. Now, Rajesh, folks, we've been talking about innovation for quite some time, and a lot of people want to find out how you're fostering a culture of innovation within your organization to stay competitive. That's actually a question from Sudarshan, and I'd love to hear Abhijit, as a CIO, what are your thoughts on this? How do you foster or how do you create a culture of innovation? How are you doing it at your firm?
Yeah, so listen, actually, you are right saying it's a culture, and culture is something have to be, enterprise wide rather than being a department wise. The culture has quite a bit of stuff. Look, a lot of people talk about innovation and as if it's going to change. But in my opinion, the innovation happens on the small changes you do, and that actually become a large impact afterwards. So getting people focused on innovation is important. Most important over here is you have to create a structure. Okay, you have to create what's your vision and goals. You can do innovate in everything and anything. Correct. You need to see which are your areas which make sense to do an innovation. Okay, which is my most business impactful area where I should do. Should I do an innovation on product? Should I do innovation on process? Should I do innovation on technology? So that plan have to be created on a top level. So that's, I think, is first and foremost. Second important point is release and empower your team, and which is actually you haven't got HR on the panel. I think they're the most critical one, in a sense to get the people out of the daily job and put him to do something differently and try to get something done. We had tried to set up a team internally. We somehow managed to scatter to send a team, but it took me a lot of fight with HR to actually get those guys out and take it out, because you have to give the guys a space in order to think through and do the innovation in a systematic manner. Uh, Important thing is that no, any innovation, and as you said, it's a culture. Any innovation will come with majority of the innovation will come with a huge number of failures. A failure without a failure, innovation cannot be successful. Okay, we keep on saying fail first, but it's an organization culture vibe need to be there. While the CFO is there, I'm going to spend something, I'm not going to get any result out of it. Correct. So that's a cultural change you know to bring, and you need to. That's the reason that fail fast as a word is very important to know. Okay, what I'm doing, I know whether it will work or not work. So we create that model, create the stuff to say, okay, look, if you fail, still it is fine, but don't fail same thing twice. That's the message and the creating you need to do. So again, the culture environment. And last 2 point I think is it have to be part of any innovation is doing, be it BSFI, be it any other place, involve your customers, because end of the day you're going to do it for your customer. End of the day, I'm in the service industry, so the customer don't come to walk up to my bank or walk up to my digital channels. So I'm nobody. So think yeah, your customer what they will like or they will not like, and collaborate, because as of today the things are so interconnected. You cannot actually do a innovation on your own. You have to know what are the various facets of that particular flow or a product or a process or anything, and then we actually can bring the innovation. So collaboration and creating a team who are multifaceted in order to get the best and a little bit of a differentiating factor out of what the normal way you are going, uh, is very important. In our organization, we are trying we already set up a team who work very independently, look into specific systems and processes and see what change we can do. But most important, as I say, uh, help them to fail fast and get the quick win. So that's all.
Thanks for that, Abhijit. I think I have just time enough for just one quick question to be slipped in, and I'd like to address it to KV Deepu. So Deepu, we've heard a lot of talk about embedded finance. We are hearing a lot of talk about CBDCs as well. How do you see this playing out in the banking industry? How real is it? And this question, in fact, comes to us from Vaibhav. Your thoughts on embedded finance? Is it old wine in a new bottle?
Okay. So I'll just pivot that to embedded insurance, since I'm from insurance, and talk about that. So embedded insurance, is very much a part of the landscape of insurance. Essentially, what we are saying here is that when the customer goes about a purchase journey, and this can be extended even to financial services, but how do you embed that financial product in that journey? So as I buy a car, how to buy car insurance? As I buy a mobile phone, on, let's say, on an e-commerce platform, right? How do I buy mobile insurance? You make it such a seamless process, that becomes a part of the overall journey that the customer almost doesn't even realize, that he is bought additional product, right? So this applies, one, a financial services product riding on the core product. It can even also happen, when a customer is buying, let's say, a financial services product, where you add, an add-on product, right? So if somebody is buying, one form of insurance, how do you add one more form of insurance, along with that? So that way, you make it very easy for the customer. And in fact, there are companies which basically say that when it comes to cross-sell, upsell, or embedded products, we will not focus on any other feature as much as the speed and ease of it. So, it's very much in play.
Got it. All right. We've, got some questions that are coming up on, futuristic technology. So let me quickly get a parting thought from Rajesh. So Rajesh, I'm going to combine questions we got from Deepak Mehta as well as Shubhashish Goswami. Deepak's asking, how AI can help in BFSI transformation. And Shubhashish is asking us, how do you see blockchain and metaverse playing out in the industry?
Yeah. So coming to the question on AI ML, right, for back office automation. Now, there are multiple use cases that we see customers adopt. I gave one example earlier, that how do we automate the entire account payable process, right? You can use AI ML to automatically tell the system what accounts have to be debited. Because of the historical information, the AI is able to read that and then create those information for you in a much faster pace. Similarly, we have examples of how the machine learning technologies can be leveraged to do your GL processing, or how a contract that you sign with the end customer, all the legal terms and conditions are automatically embedded without the leakage of any legal clauses that comes in, right? So there are many use cases that we have. You can use AI to have a dynamic discount capability, like the system can go and look at data across the globe, find out if the supplier has any problem, use that intelligence to then negotiate a price with the vendor to early pay the money to him, right, and get better discount from him. So those are some examples of how AI can definitely be leveraged as part of the solution here. So I think those are capabilities that we have from the product perspective. Yeah.
Understood. All right. Thanks for that, Rajesh. All right, folks, unfortunately, that's all that we have time for in today's discussion. Deepak and Shubhashish, thanks again for your previous question. We could take as many questions as we could in this short span. So, apologies for not taking all of the questions, but quite a few of them were common. And it was very encouraging to see a lot of questions coming in from the audience on a wide variety of topics. So, folks, I hope you enjoyed the conversation, this discussion as much as I did. And again, thank you so much to all our panelists for taking the time and sharing your great insights with us today. Appreciate it.